Welcome to This Explainer. You know, if you ever stop and look at a massive modern farm, you kind of have to wonder, right? What exactly keeps this whole operation running so incredibly smoothly? Usually, our minds go straight to the sheer volume of feed, mountains of corn, soybeans, grains, but actually, there is this entirely invisible world of microscopic compounds completely running the show. Today, we're diving straight into the hidden engine of animal health and growth. We're going to figure out exactly why natural feed just doesn't cut it anymore and why modern animal diets are so meticulously supplemented with highly engineered vitamins. Okay, let's just dive right into this because this right here is the core mystery we're unpacking today. And it honestly seems a little counterintuitive, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. If a cow or a chicken is eating a diet based on totally natural feeds, grasses, legumes, grains, why in the world do we need to step in and dump commercial vitamin supplements into their troughs? Hasn't nature already perfected this over, millions of years of evolution? Well, the answer is this absolutely fascinating mix of basic biology colliding with the intense realities of modern agriculture. So, to really get why supplementation is an absolute must, we first need to get a handle on what a vitamin actually is. Biologically speaking, they're organic compounds, meaning they contain carbon, and animals only need them in super tiny amounts. But here is the absolute key takeaway. They do not become structural parts of the animal's body. They aren't the physical building blocks like your proteins or your fats. No, it's better to think of vitamins as the biological spark plugs of the animal's internal engine. They're vital catalysts. They literally unlock the energy from all those other nutrients, powering essential biochemical reactions. Put simply, without the spark plug, I don't care how much fuel you have, that engine is just not going to run. Now, when most of us hear the word vitamins, we probably picture, those brightly colored little chewable gummies in alphabetical order, right? And while farm animals obviously aren't out there munching on gummies, the commercial reality of this is actually surprisingly similar. These highly specific isolated compounds, everything from vitamin A down to K, are a non-negotiable modern necessity. But before we get into the whole how they're made or why we add them part of this story, we really need to understand how an animal's body actually processes them. To keep things simple, we can basically divide this biological hidden engine into two totally distinct categories, and it all comes down to one thing: solubility. On one side, we've got the fat-soluble vitamins, which we can basically think of as the body's stored reserves. And then on the other side, we have the water-soluble vitamins, and these are the daily workers. How a particular vitamin dissolves literally dictates everything about how an animal absorbs it, how it uses it, and crucially, how it stores it. All right, let's look at those stored reserves first. These are the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Now, because they dissolve in fats, specifically ether and alcohol, they are absorbed right alongside the lipids in the animal's diet. This is super important because it means if anything messes with the animal's fat digestion, it's going to directly tank their vitamin absorption too. Their main job? Regulating the structural parts of the body, like building up muscles and bones. But their real superpower is that they stick around. They get stored for moderate to even really long periods of time in tissues. We're talking the liver, the brain, the fat reserves. They basically act like a long-term biological savings account. Then, on the flip side, we have our daily workers. These are the water-soluble vitamins, which is basically the whole B complex family plus vitamin C. These guys are readily absorbed right in the gut, no fats required, and they're usually pretty abundant in natural feeds. Their primary gig is being right there on the front lines, directly metabolizing fats, proteins, and carbs to transfer energy all over the body. But oh man, here is the huge catch. With the one single exception of vitamin B12, the animal's body basically has zero storage for these. They demand a continuous, completely uninterrupted daily supply. If an animal happens to get too much of a water-soluble vitamin, the excess is literally just peed out. They punch the clock every single day, and if they don't show up in the feed, all the work just immediately grinds to a halt. So, what exactly happens when that work stops? What happens when these crucial little spark plugs go missing from the diet? Well, we go very, very rapidly from an engine that is just humming along beautifully to a complete and total biological breakdown. And let me tell you, the physical consequences for the animal are quite literally catastrophic. Since those fat-soluble vitamins are basically managing structural integrity, missing them means the animal's body quite literally starts to fail. Take away vitamin A, you're looking at blindness, pneumonia, paralysis. A lack of vitamin D, young animals will develop rickets, their bones easily break, and birds will lay eggs with insanely fragile shells. Take away vitamin E, and it results in this devastating muscular dystrophy.
And without vitamin K, the body completely loses its ability to clot blood, which leads to severe, life-threatening internal hemorrhaging from just the slightest bump. The physical toll of missing these building blocks happens incredibly fast, and it is just absolutely brutal to witness.
Now, what's genuinely bizarre here is just how highly specific the symptoms get when those water-soluble daily workers go missing. For example, a lack of vitamin B2 triggers this crazy specific thing called curled toe paralysis in birds. Missing pantothenic acid, it actually causes a strange, spastic sort of walk known as goose stepping, along with rear-end paralysis. It's wild how targeted these metabolic misfires are. Without niacin, you get dementia and something called black tongue. Without biotin, horses and cattle will develop these terribly brittle horns and really deep, painful cracks in their hooves. And a total lack of vitamin C brings on full-blown scurvy, totally swollen joints, and an inability to heal wounds. It is, top to bottom, a total systemic collapse.
Okay, so seeing that terrifying list of symptoms, a very natural skepticism kind of creeps in, right? You're probably sitting there asking, wait a second, hasn't evolution taken care of this by now? Can't these animals just, I don't know, synthesize their own vitamins internally or just forage for them like they have for millennia? It's a fantastic question, and to answer it, we really need to look at the exceptions to the rules we've just laid out.
Nature actually does have some incredible built-in workarounds. Did you know that unlike us humans, poultry can actually synthesize their own vitamin C, or that ruminants like cows and sheep have this amazing symbiotic relationship with the bacteria in their rumen that literally manufactures all the vitamin B12 and niacin they could ever need? In fact, most farm animals can even synthesize their own vitamin D just by standing out in the sunlight. Plus, vitamin K is naturally synthesized by microorganisms right there in their lower gut. But, and this is a massive but, these natural biological mechanisms are incredibly fragile. They are so easily disrupted.
And that brings us to the big aha moment of this explainer. We know what vitamins do. We know the absolute horror of what happens when they're missing. And we know that nature does have some cool, albeit fragile backup systems. But guys, those backups are failing. Why? Because natural biology is just no longer enough for the modern farm animal. The intense intersection of natural biology and modern industrial agriculture has essentially completely rewritten the rules. You see, modern farming introduces these massive environmental stressors that basically dismantle those natural backups we just talked about. Take confinement systems, especially those using slat and wire floors. They totally remove the animal's access to natural foraging and, frankly, feces, which sounds gross to us but is actually a natural vitamin source for them. Meanwhile, the widespread use of antibacterial products and antibiotics in feeds, those can inadvertently wipe out the helpful gut microorganisms that naturally synthesize vitamins like B12 and K. Combine all that with the sheer stress of heat, transport, and crowded housing, which just rapidly depletes whatever natural vitamin reserves the animal actually has. Oh, and add in heavy heat and steam processing for the feed itself, you are literally destroying naturally occurring hypersensitive vitamins before the animal even takes a single bite.
So the absolute crucial point you need to take away is this. We are no longer dealing with your standard, slow-growing backyard animal. Through highly improved genetics, we have pushed modern farm animals to grow at truly mind-boggling speeds. We demand intensified production and perfectly optimized feed conversion. And to pull that off, modern diets are formulated using these incredibly purified fat and amino acid sources, which, yeah, is fantastic for raw energy and protein, but it completely strips out the natural vitamin trace elements you'd normally find in whole grains or grasses. We're essentially asking these animals' biological engines to run exactly like Formula One race cars. And what does a high-performance race car need? It requires a highly engineered, premium, supplemented fuel. Otherwise, it's just going to crash.
And honestly, that is exactly why the agriculture industry heavily relies on commercial products like vitamin A acetate powder to fortify modern diets. Instead of just kind of hoping a cow converts enough beta-carotene from grass or hoping a chicken happens to get enough sunlight that week, animal nutritionists step in with highly concentrated, extremely stable commercial powders and crystals. These exact formulations are meticulously mixed into the feed by the ton. Why? To absolutely guarantee that these essential, fragile catalysts are delivered perfectly to the animal every single day, without fail.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound thought to wrap up today's explainer. We started out by asking why natural feeds just aren't enough anymore. And we've clearly seen that by drastically changing the environments, the feed processing, and literally even the genetics of the animals themselves, we've completely outpaced nature's original design. So I want to leave you with this. How has our relentless pursuit of agricultural efficiency permanently altered the fundamental biological needs of the animals we rely on for our very survival? The hidden engine definitely runs faster than ever, but it now relies entirely on us to provide the spark. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the science behind our world.